Good evening, I'm Lucy Van Olden-Barneveld. Your local news starts right now.
There is evidence that this was a planned, premeditated act motivated by hate. It is believed that these victims were targeted because they were Muslim.
4 people from one family are dead in what police say is a hate crime in London, Ontario.
I would say most people would just give up and say, I'm not going to bother. And that sort of defeats the whole purpose of having an earlier vaccine schedule.
Frustration in Ottawa at the lack of appointments for second vaccines after the province accelerated the rollout.
As you can imagine, given 30 days notice to vacate the place that you call home and not have any control or power over that can be quite frightening.
The clock is ticking for an Ottawa women's emergency shelter. It has just 3 weeks to find a new home. But first, let's head to Lucy with our top story.
We begin tonight with breaking news. Police in London, Ontario say a hit and run that killed 4 members of one family was a planned, hate-motivated attack. A 20-year-old man has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Police say they are also looking at possible charges under the Terrorism Act. The CBC's Magda Gaber-Salasa has the details.
You can still see the skid marks right here. What happened here last night is being called an act of mass murder by the mayor of this city. We know that 3 generations of a Muslim family were out here walking last night, and we're told that a black pickup truck jumped the curb, striking the family. A 74-year-old woman died here at the scene. A man and woman in their 40s and a 15-year-old girl later died. In hospital with serious injuries is a 9-year-old boy. Now, police tell us that the suspect fled the scene. He was arrested minutes later, and they say at the time he was wearing a vest that looked like body armor. And now police are saying this was no accident.
We believe that this was an intentional act and that the victims of this horrific incident were targeted. We believe the victims were targeted because of their Islamic faith.
The community is shaken here, especially the Muslim community. I spoke with a man who says he knows the family, and he said that they regularly went out for walks. Here's how he reacted when he heard that this could possibly be hate motivated.
If that is true, that's really evil. Like, I can't comprehend how can someone do that.
The accused, Nathan Veltman, now faces murder and attempted murder charges, but based on the fact that police believe these victims were targeted because they were Muslim, more charges could be coming. Magda Gaber-Salasa, CBC News, London.
And turning now to the COVID-19
plan on Friday, moving ahead of schedule as vaccination rates continue to rise. That pairs with a steady decline in the provincial COVID-19 case rate and hospitalizations. CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa joins us now live. Jen, what does this change for us?
Chris, on Friday, you could be enjoying a cold brew on a patio and doing some indoor shopping at non-essential retail shops. These are activities that were on pause since April when that 3rd shutdown came into effect. Now, the business owners I spoke with today are eagerly awaiting Friday's reopening.
Well, I, like most people, am very happy it was announced. We've been waiting patiently. It is good news. I think people are just waiting to enjoy this weather, get out of the house. So we are looking forward to it. We've worked very closely with the City of Windsor to increase our patio capacity. They've allowed us to extend our patio into the alley. They've been very good working with us to do that. So we will have a patio in the front of the brewery as well as a patio along the side of the brewery.
We've been here 9 till 5, 6 days a week in the store, not allowing people in the store, and selling over the phone, via text, via email. And it results in you only do about a quarter of your normal business. For us, 2 months being out of the marketplace, it definitely hurt us. And I do hope that this is the last lockdown we do see.
And as a furniture and appliance shop, he says that the lack of in-person shopping has really changed his sales. So people are less likely to buy things like a mattress, a sofa, or a lounge chair because they want to test them in person, and now they can.
Now, Jen, last week the province had this reopening plan for next Monday. That was circled on the calendar. What changed here?
Well, we met those targets earlier than expected. Since the end of May, the provincial case rate has been down more than 30%, and we're seeing a steady decline in the number of patients in the ICU. On top of that, more than 70% of adults have at least one shot of a vaccine. That was something that's actually required in phase 2. So come Friday, what we're going to see is the province loosening up a little, allowing things like outdoor gatherings of up to 10 people, outdoor dining of up to 4 people per table, outdoor fitness classes, personal training and sports training up to 10 people, non-essential retail up to 15% capacity, and overnight camping at Ontario parks, along with the opening of campsites, campgrounds, and short-term rentals. Now, the province will remain in phase 1 for at least 21 days. If at that time there are 70% of adults with 1 dose of a vaccine and 20% with 2 doses, as well as those continued improvements in the public health care indicators, then phase 2 can begin. Chris.
Thanks, Jen. CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa live tonight. A gas leak in Wheatley continues to keep businesses closed, people out of their homes. Last week, the main part of the town was evacuated after toxic gas was detected coming out of the ground. Jacob Barker in Wheatley tonight. Jacob, what's being done today to deal with this leak?
Well, Chris, firefighters have been on the scene here for hours on end. In fact, for days. They were here through the weekend monitoring for gas levels in and around the buildings here. And there is some good news on that because from what I'm told from the fire chief, the levels of gas that they're detecting here have gone down to 0. But that doesn't mean that anytime soon those businesses and residents can come back to the area.
But the one thing we can say is that the gas levels have dropped significantly from Wednesday till Friday. But right now we don't know exactly what caused the leak or whether it would come back or if it could increase again.
Now, the chief did say that it's the Provincial Ministry of Natural Resources that are the ones that are out there looking for the leak and trying to get to the bottom of that. Something he says could be an abandoned gas well. So right now he says that the ministry is going through some aerial shots trying to find the locations of any old wells that might be in the area. He says the ministry should be on scene in the next couple of days to look for a well around the site, but the source of the leak may not be here in the area. We spoke with a geochemistry professor at the University of Windsor here. He also specializes in identifying gases from abandoned wells and says that finding wells in an urban setting can be extra complicated.
Anywhere where you've disturbed the ground to trench out for sewer systems or power lines, or if you've driven piles in for a particular larger structure or a new build, or you've done even geothermal well drilling, those ground disturbances can provide new pathways for the gas to move in. So even if it is from an abandoned well, it has a very different set of migration circumstances in an urban setting that make it a little bit more challenging to solve, as opposed to having it be an identifiable point source somewhere in a rural area.
Now, Jacob, there are at least 27 people who were forced to leave their homes last week because of all this. What are they doing today?
Yeah, Chris, I did manage to speak with some of those residents today. They've been out of their houses since, Thursday of last week, so it's been quite a stay away from home, and it's not an easy experience. Some are staying at the hotel. Others have found accommodations with friends and families, and those that I spoke to would not agree to go on camera, but they did tell me that the situation, it is what it is, and for now they're just waiting in limbo for that call from officials that they can go back home. But again, we don't know when that will be. Chris.
Thanks, Jacob. CBC's Jacob Barker live in Wheatley tonight. The Windsor Essex Health Unit reporting 20 more cases of COVID-19 this morning. Right now, there are 165 active cases in the area. Of those, 91 are people who have a variant of concern. Overall, 73% of adults have at least 1 dose or more. 13.2 have a fully vaccinated card now in Windsor Essex. Now, Mayor Drew Dilkens addressed a parliamentary committee on health care this morning. He's pressing the federal government to do whatever it can to obtain COVID-19 vaccines from the states that are otherwise being thrown out.
An urgent dialogue is required with all respective parties on both sides of the border to find a way to make this happen. Throughout this pandemic, governments at every level, they have found ways to move mountains to safeguard the health and the safety of the public. Policy initiatives that would otherwise have taken years get resolved in the matter of days. And I commit to doing everything and anything in my power to create the conditions for success.
Today, Dilkins also found out that Health Canada would have to approve the mayor's Needles Across the Border plan in the tunnel. Doing it that way would be considered importing the drug for sale. Dilkins says the federal government has not provided any help in getting the vaccines into Canada. He says every effort to find creative solutions has been thwarted. The city has already painted a line at the border in the tunnel to indicate where people would have to stand if that plan goes through. Dilkins says multiple medical officials in Detroit and in Michigan have offered to provide the surplus vaccines. More than 11,000 people have signed on to an online wait list for that program. Chatham-Kent police have charged 2 Old Colony Mennonite churches for exceeding provincial capacity limits again. A resident near Wheatley says they can understand why they may want to be a part of a religious gathering, but ultimately it can affect everyone.
I feel that they do have their rights, and with the same token, I feel that they're endangering our healthcare system. There's rules for a reason. And I really believe that not following the rules is endangering other people.
The 2 churches were charged under the Reopening Ontario Act, one in Wheatley, the other in Charing Cross. Police say no masks were worn inside at either church. Both exceeded the limits allowed indoors. Currently, only 10 people are allowed inside for religious gatherings. 7 missing beagles are at the center of an OPP investigation. They were stolen over the weekend in Lakeshore. As CBC's Katerina Georgieva reports, it happened not long after protests made allegations of animal abuse at the same property.
I hope they're found, and I hope they are safe right now.
Yes. Jen Brooks runs this Facebook page, created to call for better conditions for dogs that used to be on this Lakeshore property, an open field. In the back, you can see a couple of sheds and other boxes. Brooks alleges mistreatment of the dogs.
These dogs' boxes are literally like 2 feet by 3 feet, and they're contained to those things all year long, no matter the weather conditions.
365 days a year.
As you can see, no one lives on this property. He claims he comes out here a few times a day, which anybody that has an animal knows that they need way more attention and bathroom breaks or exercise.
Those allegations have not been proven. The group got traction and protests were held over the weekend.
It was sad. I rescue dogs that come from the south that are coming out of situations just like this. So, just for me to see this, these are dogs that we would normally rescue. I don't understand how it's acceptable that they're out there like that.
But now the dogs are gone. The OPP is investigating, saying the property was broken into sometime on Saturday morning. Protesters say this is the last thing they wanted.
No, what we condoned right from the beginning. It doesn't make it doesn't help us in the end.
No, it doesn't. CBC spoke with the owner of the dogs, but they would not comment on the situation. The owner is also named as the animal control officer for Tecumseh and LaSalle. LaSalle would not comment, but Town of Tecumseh says 2 inspectors with the Ontario Animal Protection Centre attended the outdoor kennel site on Friday, adding the inspectors found the kennels to be in an acceptable condition, as well as the dogs. Given the findings of the OAPC inspection, no change in the relationship between the town and dog control officer is being considered at this time. The province confirms to CBC that Animal Welfare Services is looking into this, but would not comment further. But when you call their hotline, they address the incident off the top.
If you have first-hand information or eyewitness accounts directly related to the incident on Lion Club Road in Bell River, please remain on the line.
Meanwhile, the protesters hope the dogs are found safe and sound and that the owner is thoroughly investigated. Katerina Georgieva, CBC News, Windsor.
A new pump track in Little River is close to being open for riders to enjoy, but the city says some people aren't waiting. They're breaking into the construction site.
There's been, unfortunately, a few instances where people have gained access, and then it seems like once 1 or 2 people get in there, it sort of welcomes the masses in there. Park staff has continued to monitor it. We've been working with the Police Auxiliary Service as well as the regular uniformed members of the police, and we have a couple of times had to have the police actually go out there and help to disperse everybody.
Construction at this pump track started in late April, but the city says since then some riders have been ignoring fencing and signage meant to keep people out. When construction started, the city says it used snow fencing to close the area, but since it's light, riders were easily breaking through it. The city has since used metal fencing to keep people out. The track, it's expected to officially open this Friday if weather cooperates. Sandpoint Beach is one step closer to moving. This afternoon, City Council unanimously supported spending money on an environmental assessment that would consider moving the beach east, where Stop 26 is now, and away from dangerous currents.
Getting this EA will at least put us in a better position to hopefully try and make changes on the area that we can control to quash or diminish, or whatever the right word is, people's desire to jump in at that particular part of the water. And you know, I think we have a shared goal in wanting to make sure that no one dies in that particular area.
The $227,500 was originally going to be spent in 2024, but the recent drowning of a man near the beach increased that urgency to move. The city will also ask Windsor Police if they can increase auxiliary patrols at the beach until it can be officially opened and staffed. That's expected later this month. A cross-border couple is riding out the pandemic in Chatham, Kent, literally. While most of us have spent time exploring the space around us, these two, they took it a step further, deciding to cycle every single street in Wallaceburg in a single day. The beautiful bridges of Wallaceburg can be a little bumpy, but so were the last 15 months.
We heard the borders might be closing, and that was a little scary, so I came over here thinking it was going to be a couple weeks, and brought a duffel bag.
Like a few hours notice, and yeah, here we are.
Marcotte left Michigan for Hess's hometown of Wallaceburg. Not a new couple, these two.
We've been together for a few years, I guess.
I think 2015,
yeah,
maybe?
she said long enough.
Yeah.
When somebody asked her that question.
Long enough.
They were together, stuck at home, but not stuck inside.
We're both very active, so we spent the first months of the pandemic walking and running around Wallaceburg. Realized, I think, I don't know, a couple of days ago that there's parts of town that I had never seen, so decided to go see all of it.
One Saturday morning, they kicked off, cycling up and down every nook and cranny. Hess exploring a place he'd seen before, Marcotte offering a fresh perspective.
Wallaceburg has had a tough go of things the past few years, but I think it's a beautiful little community.
And it's great to see the revitalization that's happening. We've seen a lot of people sprucing up their homes. We've seen a lot of new business signs coming into the downtown.
It took them 9 hours, covering 107 kilometers, finding a heart in the middle of it all. And it's not the first time this couple found love on a pair of wheels late last year.
We actually got engaged after a bicycle trip.
We did.
No, what happened there?
We left for a bicycle trip around Niagara Falls. We did this kind of big loop around, and when we got done, we just said, yeah, let's get married. And so 10 days later, we were married.
A reminder that this pandemic doesn't mean it's the end of the road, just another one of life's detours.
We're just trying to make the best, again, do something silly. Just trying to make the best of a weird time that we're in right now.
Do something silly, not silly when love like that is involved. Both work in IT so they can work remotely. Amanda says they'll do Marine City, Michigan, where she's from, as soon as it's safe to do so. A look outside here. I think we're expecting a little bit of rain, not just tonight, the rest of the week. Colette Kennedy breaks down the forecast after the break. Muggy this morning, sizzling this weekend. Windsorites, they're looking for some tips to deal with these hot, humid days.
Dip in the pool if you have a pool. If you sometimes just mist yourself with water or something. Just throw water on yourself if you have water. If you have access to water, just get yourself in water.
As much water as you can, a lot of fluids, very little alcohol. That dehydrates you, so just a lot of water. It's my best bet, and just try to relax.
Just doing anything that can stay cool, stay inside, swimming.
I mean, obviously sunscreen, because you can probably tell I would burn very easily. Yeah, drink lots of water. I probably wouldn't do too much exercising outside today. It's so humid, so.
Honestly, just make sure you stay hydrated, drink lots of water, and go in the pool if you can.
You could either go in the birds. It's a lot of air like in your face and stuff like that, or just staying inside AC.
Go back home, sit in the air conditioner.
Yeah, and we got Sloopies or whatever. What is that? We got Wendy's cooler, so.
That's a man who knows what he's after. Wendy's coolers on a cold day, on a warm day. I don't care when it is. That's something to enjoy. Those Frosties that are there too. Colette, your tips, what do? I know some drink water, get in the shade. Is there like a tried and true method for you to stay a little cool on a hot one?
Yeah, no, the only thing I'll say is I cheat a little bit when it comes to, I play golf on the weekend, and so instead of like, okay, I try to, get the exercise, walk the course. I mean, I don't carry my bag, but I push it. In this kind of heat, no, I'm getting a cart and I'm gonna have a little bit of shade, because sometimes that's the only shade you have, and somewhere to put all those drinks, because you need more than one bottle of water on days like that. So yeah, the hydration, we heard that from so many people there, You live in southwestern Ontario, you kind of know what you need to do when that humidity goes up. We have been very dry. We need some rain coming through. I'd love to say it's going to be a really widespread soaking rain. There's definitely rain in the forecast, but in many cases it will be locally heavy. We're even not here in southwestern Ontario, but in other parts of Ontario there are some rainfall warnings right now associated with some storms that have developed, and that's really because it can cause some flash flooding, and it just is so highly localized. But when you've got humid air like this, that, boy, oh boy, there's a lot of moisture, right, for the atmosphere to work with. Even though we were up to 28 today, still got a humidex 34. That's carrying on right now. Close to the lake, do you get a bit of a breeze? Yeah, it's a little cooler. Lake St. Clair, maybe not so much. But seeing some of these storms, Leamington, you can see all those lightning strikes. I'm sure you're hearing the thunder as this little band is coming through. I call it little, but not necessarily there as that's tagging by. But these will be weakening in another few hours here as we lose the daytime heating. Things start to wind down. Still a few scattered showers in the overnight, but really we'll see most of it drying out. It's some fog. Some areas could be quite dense with the fog development, so watch out for that into tomorrow morning. Becomes a little more widespread, at least, with some of the rain that we're seeing into Tuesday. And then it's later in the day on Wednesday. Instability once again, we have a chance. And if you're looking for things to really break, even though the temperatures came down a couple degrees today, we're going to see that as we get towards midweek. The air will feel drier. I know it's raining. You're like, what do you mean? I mean, but it won't have the humidity quite so much. But you see tomorrow still 29, Chris, feeling like 37.
Oh, I tell you. But Patio Friday, apparently, so that's what we can look forward to.
Oh, yeah. Can you believe it?
No, I can. This will be nice. Thanks for this, Colette.
You're welcome.
Now, this week, Canada will have its biggest lottery draw ever. How much dough is up for grabs? That's next. Ryerson University says it won't restore or replace the statue that was toppled by demonstrators in Toronto on Sunday. The statue was brought down during a rally to honor the 215 children who are believed to be buried on the grounds of a former residential school in Kamloops, BC. Egerton Ryerson is considered one of the architects of Canada's residential school system. There have been calls for years to remove his name from the university's downtown Toronto campus. Earlier this year, the university set up a task force to review the legacy of its namesake. The committee is expected to provide its final recommendations before the fall semester. It's the biggest lottery draw in Canadian history. It's going to happen this week with $117 million up for grabs. The Lotto Max jackpot on Tuesday will be $70 million. There will also be a whopping 47 Max Million prizes of $1 million each. Ontario's Lottery and Gaming Commission says this is a first for the country, marking the biggest prize pool available to be won in a single draw. Although there was no winning ticket sold in Friday's $70 million draw, 4 lucky Ontarians woke up to Max Millions prize on Saturday morning. That's a lot of Frosties from Wendy's. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. The Rick Mercer Report is up next. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.